Fiona presents Global Warming versus Pregnancy. In 2007, the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, also known as IPCC, presented a large amount of evidence about global warming and the impact of human activities on global climate change. The Lancet Commission have identified a number of ways in which climate change can influence human health, such as lack of food and safe drinking water, poor sanitation, population migration, changing disease patterns and morbidity, more frequent extreme weather. Pregnant women, the developing fetus, and young children are considered the most vulnerable members of our species and are already marginalized in many countries. Therefore, they may have increased sensitivity to the effects of climate change. Exposure to the effects of climate change at the early stage of development can cause immediate harm or damage that becomes evident later in life, resulting in lasting effects over a lifetime and even over generations. Scientists have concluded that there is a need for intervention at many levels to reduce contaminant exposure and protect the future of the unborn and newborn children. Extreme weather and natural disasters. Being pregnant comes with some risk factors that affect mental health and pregnancy outcomes due to changing hormones. Each trimester has its own complications and occurring side effects that are normal, but the added stress from natural disasters and extreme weather can greatly increase these risks. Studies have shown that climate change will increase the risk of infant and maternal mortality, birth complications, and poorer reproductive health, especially in tropical developing countries. The hearts of pregnant women and their unborn children sometimes beat in synchrony. When the mother's stress increases, the fetus's heart rate and pressure increase to unsafe levels. Direct heat exposure on maternal health outcomes can lead to severe health risks for mother and children. Increased focus on the neonatal care is recommended to prevent worsening maternal health and paternal mortality and morbidity. Thus, climate change will have a substantial impact on the health and survival of the next generation among already challenging populations. Poor sanitation and diseases. More than 3 million children under the age of 5 die each year from environmental-related causes and conditions. Polluted indoor and outdoor air, contaminated water, lack of adequate sanitation, toxic hazards, and disease vectors are all important environmental risk factors for children and their mothers as well. Particularly in developing countries, environmental hazards and pollution become major contributors to childhood deaths, diseases, poisonings, insect-borne diseases, and perinatal infections. Health-damaging exposure to environmental risks can begin before birth. Lead in air, mercury in food, and other chemicals can result in long-term, often irreversible effects such as infertility, miscarriage, and birth defects. Women's exposure to pesticides, solvents, and persistent organic pollutants may potentially affect the health of the fetus. Additionally, while the overall benefits of breastfeeding are recognized, high levels of contaminants in breast milk may affect the health of the newborn. Pregnant women living and working in hazardous environments, and poor mothers and their children are at higher risks, as they are exposed to the most degraded environments, are often unaware of the health implications, and lack of access to information on potential solutions. Not enough clean resources and food. Safe drinking water is essential for good health, yet it is still unavailable to more than 1 billion people worldwide. Natural disasters or extreme events reduce the access to safe drinking water and proper sanitation, increasing the risk of malnutrition, diarrhea, and chorea. The effects of these diseases are further confounded by undernutrition. Undernutrition, including stunting, poor fetal growth, and micronutrient deficiencies, is the underlying cause of at least 3.5 million deaths. Underweight women are more likely to give birth to children suffering from low birth weight, which is considered a risk factor for infant morbidity and infant mortality. Undernutrition is a leading cause for children morbidity and child mortality in sub-Saharan Africa, where 2.2 million deaths among children under the age of 5 and 1.3 million deaths among mothers are estimated to be attributable to the undernutrition. 35% of the disease burden among young children is estimated to be the result of undernutrition. Underweight children are also more susceptible to infectious disease, and poor diet is associated with growth retardation and delay mental development. In the short-term perspective, undernutrition between mother or child will increase the risk of morbidity and mortality during infancy or causes effects Overpopulation, pollution, lack of resources, and high birth rates are all contributed to how pregnancy is causing global warming. The world population is expected to soon exceed 7 billion. That is more than double the number of people living on Earth just 50 years ago. The increase of people leads to the bigger demand for oil, gas, coal, and other fuels mined or drilled from below the Earth's surface. Then when burned, carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere, trapping warm air inside like a giant greenhouse. The greenhouse gases have grown over the last century, and with worldwide population expected to surpass 9 billion over the next 50 years. Environmentalists and others are concerned if the planet has the ability to withstand the added burden of greenhouse gases entering the atmosphere and inflicting destruction on ecosystems. Developed countries, for example, consume the most amount of fossil fluids. The United States, for example, contains only 5% of the world's population, but contributes a quarter of a total CO2 output. If the population continues to increase, the climate change will continue, resulting in the failure of Earth's ecosystem. The Earth's population is close to reaching a point where it can't be maintained without rapidly depleting non-renewable resources or converting renewable resources into non-renewable ones. This effect on natural resources, including soils being damaged and forests being rapidly depleted, thus affecting natural processes such as photosynthesis, the nitrogen cycle, and constant food source. Only 2.5% of the planet's water is fresh water, and two-thirds of this fresh water is in glaciers, ice caps, and permafrost. Most of the remaining fresh water is in aquifers. All this amounts to less than 0.3% of the total liquid, fresh water being on the surface. Fresh water is in short supply and growing population due to the amount of pregnancies every day, making it even scarcer. In addition, the depletion of water resources and extensive contribution to carbon dioxide buildup in the atmosphere, such as pollution and deforestation, is vastly due to rich nations, which exponentially add to the negative impacts of overpopulation and lack of resources, not only nationally, but also worldwide, as it does not only depend on their native stocks or resources, but the outsourcing to other nations for their specialized products. Furthermore, advances in technology and demand by such countries have increased the number of people in rich nations, which in response has come with environmental crises such as soil erosion, desertification, acid rain, global warming, destruction of the ozone layer, and toxification. Overpopulation and rapidly depleting natural resources are leading to the possibility of human extinction. Add in pollution, contamination, out-of-control rising birth rates, and Earth's outcome is not looking the greatest for future generations. Increased awareness and commitment to replacing archaic, highly destructive technologies with green solutions must include effective, natural methods for avoiding unplanned pregnancies. More and more people believe in natural methods to avoid pregnancies instead of the contraceptive drugs and devices that Western societies have come to depend on for the past few decades. But with growing population, these natural methods are not working. Unfortunately, the drugs have proved to have harmful and life-threatening side effects, leading to different cancers. Many have stated that the only way to slow or prevent overpopulation is to have smaller families. For example, the United States has the highest rate of unplanned pregnancy in the entire developed world after years of contraceptive drug use, followed by the United Kingdom. These statistics indicate that unplanned pregnancies is not only an issue in underdeveloped countries, proving that, regardless of our geographic location, background, or circumstances, the planet as a whole is adding to the epidemic of overpopulation due to unwanted and unplanned pregnancy. Let's come together and fix this problem and make the world a better place.